So this diagram tells you about what software development, okay, roadmap. So if you remember this diagram, this is all about how does exactly, okay, the software development begins, right? Yeah, so this is a roadmap which is all about the software development process. So in the first unit, you had already gone through this. So when we want to develop any of the software, our journey, okay, begins from discovery of requirements. Our journey begins from collection of the requirements. So requirements are very, very important when you want to develop a software, because requirements are later on converted into designs and then they are converted into the code. So if you are not clear about what are the requirements of your software, it becomes very, very difficult to go to the next phases. So discovery of requirement is nothing but collection of your requirement. Okay, so collection of requirement is getting all the information depending on what you are going to develop the software, right? Next thing will be what? Planning. So you have a huge set of requirements with you, but there is a need to sort that information. We don't need all this information to develop a software. We can remove unwanted requirements and then we can finalize, okay, the requirements which are needed for the further planning. So the second phase of your development of a software will be planning. So once when all the requirements are developed, collected, once when they are sorted, then we will go for designing, and simultaneously you can go for development, then you can go for testing, okay, and then you can go for the maintenance part of that software. So this diagram is very, very important to know about the software engineering subject. Why? Because after the first unit, I told you that each of the phase you are going to learn as a different chapter. So the second unit is all about what? Requirement collection. So the second unit is all about this. It will tell us about how to collect the requirements from different users during the software development, and what will you do in the planning. What activities do you do in the planning, okay, to finalize the requirements. So I want to tell you that these are very, very important. So discovery and planning, these two things you are going to learn in your second unit. So our second unit is all about software requirement, isn't it? It is all about what? Software requirement. So in that software requirement, what it is going to do? It is going to tell you about how you are going to develop, okay, how you are going to develop that software. Are you getting that? Okay, so before the development of a software, what is needed? Discovery of information and then the planning. So discovery of information is nothing but what? Collection of requirements. Okay, it is all about collection of requirements. So following this approach, I have already explained you about the software requirement document. Now, what is that software requirement document? So in that software requirement document, okay, so that software requirement document is all about all these things. So you are going to include all these details in that software requirement document. Okay, so coming back to the notes, okay, so which I had shared to you. So that is regarding the unit 2, where we studied this. That is exactly, okay. So here we started studying about what? SRS. Okay. So is the screen visible? Notes of second unit is visible to you? Is the screen visible, guys?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Is it visible now? Notes screen is visible or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. See, we started with SRS, right? So which is very, very important to remember. It is a 5 marks question, right? So in SRS, I told you that this is the format. This is the standard format of writing that SRS. So in this second unit, what we are going to see, that is related to only the discovery and planning phase, which is related to the first phase in the software development. So in second unit here, we are going to talk only about the requirements. I told you that there are different types of requirements like functional, non-functional. In non-functional again, you go for requirements like user and system requirements, domain requirements. So there are different types of requirements which have to be finalized in the first phase, and then only you can go to the second phase. So this SRS is all about what? Writing what activities you have carried out during the software development. Okay. So this is considered as one of the requirement only, writing this format. This format is used by other people or other developer teams. Okay, so you can write that SRS in natural language also, and there are so many different types of languages to write the data in that black book. So those different types of languages are more formal. You cannot write them as a natural language. You have to write them in a structured format. So day before yesterday, I have told you this. So once again, in the description, I will share the link about this. So I think there is a video for alternatives of writing the SRS. Okay, what part I am telling, it is included in that. So please, while this lecture, you can take a book and you can note down some hints. If you have any questions also, you can ask me, right? Then we also went for form-based design, right? That is form-based. In form-based explanation, see, this is one requirement, and this requirement is written in this style also. Okay, the requirements are also written in this way also. You can also write in the table format. So that will be 5 marks question. Okay, what is the 5 marks question? That how to write the SRS. What are the different ways of writing the SRS, right? Yeah. So today's main session I wanted to discuss about is this requirement engineering process. So this question is of 10 marks, and I need to cover this in 1 or 2 sessions. We cannot cover it in only one session. Okay. So it is going to take 1 to 2 or maybe 3 parts to complete this, because this itself has so many different stages, as well as it will have so many different steps. So from this main thing, that is requirement engineering process, they may ask you a big question for 10 marks. It is a compulsory question, as well as they may ask the sub questions from this. Okay, so understanding this is very, very important, right? Okay, so now what is the requirement engineering process? So as we saw that there is a software development model, there is a software development cycle. Similarly, uh, when we go here, right? So when we come here, so here you can see that discovery, whatever discovery you are going to include, this discovery phase, right? So this discovery phase has got one different process. Okay, so that different process is R. Okay, so which is nothing but requirement engineering process, right? Requirement engineering process. So while collection the requirements, while collection of requirements, you are going to do one process. Okay, that is called as requirement engineering process. So why it is engineering? You know what is meaning of engineering? It is nothing but about development of new theories, rules. Okay, studying the application in detail. So what you are going to do, you are going to do engineering on the requirements of that specific software. It means I'm going to study a specific requirement set. I'm going to do some analysis. Okay, I'm going to do a specific analysis on the requirement of that software. So just see how much important the requirements are for the development of a software. If you don't know what to include in your software, then how you're going to create a software, isn't it? So collection of requirement or finalizing the requirement plays very, very important role. So that requirement engineering process is carried out in these phases, discovery as well as planning. So these two phases has to undergo the requirement engineering process. Okay, so let us see now what are, okay, the main activities of requirement engineering process. Okay, yes, so I'm here. See, this is the diagram which will represent you about requirement engineering process. So this diagram you have to draw when it is asked for 10 marks as well as for 5 marks also. You have to write the diagrammatic representation. Okay, so we have basically these phases. So we have feasibility study, which is going to generate a feasibility report. After completion of feasibility study, it is going to produce a feasibility report, right? The second phase is all about requirement elicitation and analysis. So output of this feasibility study is given as input to this phase. So requirement elicitation, what do you mean by elicitation? It is all about discovery, requirement discovery, and doing lot of research on that information before finalizing the information. That is called as requirement elicitation and analysis. So during that, you can draw some models also. Okay, these models are not about your software. Remember that these models are only used for the requirements. What requirements you have collected. So those models will prefer only that requirements. So to represent the requirements of your software, you are going to draw some models. So after finalizing the requirements, okay, you will go for specification. So you will categorize that collected information. You will categorize that collected requirements. You will differentiate the requirement set into user and system requirements. You will finalize, you will prioritize that collected common set of information, and then this is repeated. See here, why it is repetitive? Because you are going to finalize the information from this information or requirement set. So then you are going to categorize those requirements under user and system requirements. So after completion of these three phases, that is feasibility study, requirement elicitation and analysis, after finalizing and prioritizing those requirements, you need to validate those requirements. So what is validation? Checking, okay, whether the user requirements are met or not, whether all the requirements related to the development of a software are included in this requirement set or not. So this is one of the process which is carried out in the first phase of software development, which is the first phase, requirement collection, that is requirement discovery as well as planning. So in these two phases, you are going to uh, include this process. You are going to do this model or you are going to run this model. Okay, you have to practice this model in the first phase only in order to finalize the requirements, in order to check whether all the requirements are correct or not, and whether we can continue with the next part of the software development, which is nothing but the designing, and then the development, and then the testing, implementation, and then the maintenance. So simultaneously, all the information is inserted into the requirement document. Now, what is this requirement document? This is nothing but your SRS. Okay. So according to index, after preface, glossary, the next will be what requirements in that user and system requirements. So whatever user and system requirements you have finalized, that is included or added to that black book. It means we are done with the first phase of the software development. When this data final requirements are updated to this document, what it means? It means that your requirements are final now and you can continue with the next design phase of the software development. Okay, so this is the main diagram to represent requirement engineering process. All right. Okay, so we are going to see each of the phase in detail, what exactly happens in each phase, because it is very, very important. So what happens in feasibility and what you're going to do in the elicitation, okay? What activities you can do in the requirement specification, what activities can be carried out in validation. So all these phases are very, very important, okay? See, So these are the main phases. Okay, so it includes what? Your REP, that is requirement engineering process. It includes these main phases. Okay, so feasibility study, elicitation and analysis, then we have specifications, and then we have validation. Okay, now what is included in feasibility study? So anybody can tell me what is meaning of feasibility if you know that. Okay, so now the question is that whether the students can attend the class online or offline, which is more feasible for you people. Some will say offline, some will say online. It means it is a 50-50% of feasibility. Isn't it? Offline. So students say offline and they just wander in the corridor. They don't sit in the class. Huh? Okay. So feasible. What is more feasible for you? Isn't it? Yeah. So feasibility is means what? How much it can we continue with these requirement set? Okay. Can we proceed with this requirement set? So it is nothing but concerned with assessing whether the system is useful to the business. So carrying out the study, whether the software is useful or not, whether it is helpful to the business, whether it is useful to the customers or not, how much feasible or how much helpful, how much usable your software is. Okay, so that is called as what? Feasibility study. All right. Okay. So second is elicitation and analysis. So as I told you, elicitation is all about discovery of information. Okay, you're going to discover a set of information. So it is basically collecting the requirements. Okay, how you are going to collect the requirements, that only we are going to see in this phase. Okay, so collection of requirements and making lot of analysis to finalize the requirements, right? So for example, I want to develop an ATM software. Let me take an example of a software called as what? ATM, okay, with biometrics. I want to develop a new software which is ATM with biometrics, okay. So what is my biometrics here? I am choosing one biometrics which is nothing but what? Thumb, right? So that is my biometrics. So what does this thumb biometrics means here? It means when I go to ATM, every time I have to give my thumb impression as a password. So suppose I want to develop this as a new software, and this is the task which is given to the software company. Suppose there is one company called as what? We will take one company, okay? So which is called as what? Suppose ABC company. So there is one company whose name is ABC. Let us take it as a ABC company. So the task is given. So what is the task? We have to develop a biometrics with thumb as a password. This is the task given to this company. So ABC is a software development company. So whenever they want to start up with the development of this software, what is needed? They have to collect the requirements related to this. Okay. So they have to collect all the requirements related to this. Yeah. So they apply this above model and then they check how much it is feasible to develop this software. Then they start collecting the information and analyzing the information. So related to ATM with biometrics and thumb, they start collecting the requirements. Okay. So how they will collect, we will see that in the detailed explanation of this phase. Okay. Then after this, what they are going to do? They are going to go for specification. Specification is nothing but what? After collection and discovering the information, they are going to frame that requirements into standard format. They are going to develop one standard format of that requirement. Okay. So that standard format of requirement, okay, comes under the specification where you are going to finalize what's here, where you are going to finalize user. Okay. Yeah. Where you are going to finalize user and system requirement. All right. Okay. Then after finalizing the requirements, the next phase will be what? Validation, right? So what is that validation? Whatever information you have collected, whatever information you have divided into user and requirement information, whether you can continue with this information for the development of the next phase of your software. It means you are going to check. So what you are going to check? You are going to check that the requirements actually define the system that customer wants. So in validation, you are going to check. So what you are going to check? You are going to check whether whatever information is given by the user. So what the user wants? He wants an ATM software with thumb impression and the requirements that you have collected with that. So whether we can satisfy or whether we can develop that kind of system with this requirement, whatever we had collected. Okay, so this is a brief explanation of uh, what you can do, right? In this, the four different phases, right? So for 10 marks, first go for this diagram and then go for this phases, right? So spiral representation of requirement engineering process. So I will go to this in the next part. So in today's session, we will study the phases. Okay, I am going to explain you in detail about the phases. What are the four phases? Feasibility study, requirement elicitation and analysis. Third is requirement specification, and fourth is validation. So we are going to see each phase today, right? So let me go with the first one. So our first phase is what? Feasibility study. So what you are going to do here exactly? So there are few activities which are carried out to check how much feasible it is to develop or to collect the requirements and to continue with these requirements. Okay, so what you are going to do here, right? See the first one. So starting point of the requirement engineering process. It is the first phase of requirement engineering process. So what are the inputs given to this feasibility study? So we have a set of preliminary business requirements. It means the what we do here is we have so a set of basic business requirements. So we have a set of important business requirements. Okay, that is the first input given. So business requirement, what do you mean by business requirement? So how much beneficial it is for the business, how much beneficial the software, that is the new software, is beneficial to our business, right? First feasibility study is that. Then an outline description of the system. Okay, so outline description of the system is nothing but what? Outline working of the system, how the system is going to work and what kind of requirements are needed to develop this kind of system. Later, they also study how the system is intended to support the business process. So by seeing this, you may come to know that main focus, okay, so main focus they are trying to do is on their business. So you may see that main focus they are trying to do is on their business, but keeping in mind that they also satisfy the user requirements. So in feasibility study, basically, they check out how much feasibility is or how much helpful it is to develop this kind of software for their business. Okay. So after feasibility study, what they will generate? They will generate one report. Okay. So they will generate one report where they will make an analysis saying that whether to carry, okay, or whether to carry out working with this software, whether to continue development of this software. So that is the feasibility report which is generated, which is generated from this first phase of REP, that is requirement engineering process. Okay. See then, so what exactly happens in the feasibility report? What activities are exactly carried out? Okay, so we conduct all these bulleted activities, okay, in feasibility report. So let me tell you one by one, right? So first is that, does the system contribute to overall objective? It means if we undertake this software development, okay, if we undertake this software development, whether it will help our business, okay, so it will tell that whether it is going to help our business. It will also check whether it is helpful to satisfy all the activities during the development process, right? So what is the second? Can the system be implemented? Okay, what is second here? Can the system be implemented using the current technology? So you're going to check. What you're going to check? You're going to check whether we can implement the software, whatever that ATM software. Okay, so I will highlight it once again. We have ATM biometrics. Okay, so what is our biometrics here? You're going to use a thumb. Okay, so thumb. It means every time you have to give your finger as a biometrics, right? And it will scan, and if it matches, then only it is considered as password is correct. Okay. So in this way, you are going to include that biometrics. Okay. So first thing, they will check whether we can satisfy the objective. What is the objective? Development of that software. Okay. Second, what they check, whether it can be implemented using current technology. So whatever technology we have, can we continue with that technology? It will check whether we can continue with that technology and within the given cost. Okay. It will also check within given cost and schedules. Are you getting that? So in feasibility study, we mainly focus, okay? So we mainly focus on these things, okay? Whether we can develop a software within the given cost and schedule, and whether we can develop that within the technology which is available to us. Suppose we have a company. Which company we took? We took a company saying ABC, isn't it? So whether that ABC company, okay, whether it is possible for this company to develop a software. So which software? Our ATM biometric software. So what technologies they work? Suppose they are working on a robotics technology. Okay, it is possible for them. Suppose they are working on .NET technology and they develop only .NET packages. Are you getting that? So they need to check whether they can develop the software using their current technology, or they require any another technology, or they require new employees. They will also check. Suppose the costing of that software is nearly 2 lakh rupees, whether it is worthwhile to develop that software, okay, and whether it is possible to develop that software in the given schedules. Are you getting that? Yeah. So that is all about the second activity which is carried out in feasibility report, right? So similarly, we have third activity. So what is that third activity here? So we have third activity saying, can the system be integrated with other systems which are already in place? It means, can we take some modules which are already designed, or can we integrate this system with some old module? Suppose we have transaction module, okay, we have login module. So suppose our old software is there, okay, in that old software we have login module, okay, then we have customers details modules which is already ready, isn't it? Then we have which module again? We have transaction module in ATM, okay. Then we may have change password, okay. So all these modules are already there in the old software. So in feasibility report, they also check, okay. So they check, can we use these modules? Okay, can we reuse these modules? For what? Can we reuse these models for our new ATM biometric software? They will check it. Okay. So according to me, what are the few this one that they can use? They can go for customer details. This module we can use. Okay. Login module we cannot use. Why? Tell me. Because earlier login depends on what? Username and password. But we want a login, isn't it? We want a login, a new login which is going to take the biometrics. Okay. So it is going to make that feasibility study. Then can we go with the transactions? Can we go with the transactions model? Can we use that model in this new software? Transaction is all about what? Deposit and withdrawal. So we also need to make some changes in transaction, because as there is a password which is your thumb impression. So change password, also we need the thumb impression. So in customer details, if they have taken thumb impression in the early software, okay. Otherwise also you have to go for minor changes. Are you getting that? So this third activity which they carry out is that they check, okay, what they are going to check, they are going to check, can the system be integrated with other system which is already in place? Fine. Okay. So the next activity is a feasibility study decides whether or not the proposed system is worthwhile. Now what is this worthwhile? What do you mean by worthwhile? This approach, whatever this biometric approach, okay, so whatever this biometric approach is taken, right, they will just check. Okay, so Anand Saboji, you are entering now. Already closing time of lecture. Yeah, so we have got another 5 minutes for the lecture. So where I was, yes, I was here. We completed with these phases. Okay. Yeah. Now a feasibility study decides whether or not the proposed system is worthwhile, means whether it is profitable, whether it is beneficial to our organization with this new software or not. That kind of study is also carried out. Okay. Then a short focused study that checks, okay, so these both are the same points. So it is going to check these 3 points. A short focused study that checks. So exactly here it is going to check these 3 points, 1, 2, and 3. If the system contributes to organizational objectives, if we develop this new approach, how beneficial it is to our organization. Then if the system can be engineered using current technology with the given budget, it means can we go with the current technology? Can we design the system within the given cost? Can we go with the same employees that we have? Can we cover this development within the given schedules? Okay. So if the system can be integrated with other systems that are used or not. So overall in feasibility, okay. So overall, if you see here in feasibility study, so what do you come to know here exactly? So we come to know that whether, okay, so basic idea is that whether we can satisfy the objective, can we go with the current technology, cost and schedules, okay, can we use already present modules and all those things. So they exactly decide here. So if I want to develop this software, whether my business will have some uh, or you can say that business will have some profit, or we can go with the current technology and employees and within the given cost and schedule. So all these things, okay, all these things are carried out in the feasibility study. So feasibility study, it is the first phase, isn't it? So we saw feasibility study, which is the first phase of what? Your requirement engineering process. Okay. So I will just highlight, okay, I will just highlight the second phase, and then I think we are left out with 2 minutes. Okay, so let me see how long we can go. So coming back to feasibility study, you do two things: finding out the input, finding out the output. Okay, so we'll just take this point and then we'll stop. So here, how do you implement that? Okay, so implement is nothing but what? How will you perform all these activities? Okay, these are the activities which are performed in the feasibility study. How you are going to perform that? Okay, yeah. So based on the information assessment, that is based on the required information and report. Okay, based on this collected information, what you are going to do? You are going to check. Okay, what if the system wasn't implemented? What are the current process problems? How will the proposed means what? Your new software. How the new software is going to help us? What will be the integration problems? Integration problems means what? I told you that there are 4 modules in this ATM software. Okay. So while combining this old software or while updating this old software with the new software, what may be the problems? Okay, what problems may come? Is new technology needed? As I told you, they will check in this study that can we go with the old technology? Okay, so to check whether they can go with the old technology, they will see, okay, can we go with the older technology for software development, or we need to go for new technology? And if we want to refer the new technology, what are the skills that are needed to develop that software using new technology? Okay, what facilities must be supported by the proposed system? Proposed is nothing but your new system. So while writing for 10 marks, you have to explain all the phases. So today I explained you only about first phase. So as I told you, it may take 2 to 3 parts to complete entire requirement engineering process. Okay. So in today's part, we saw what is requirement engineering process. And I briefly told you what each phase is going to do. And we saw in detail in this session about feasibility study and feasibility report. Okay. So this is all about today's session. So tomorrow I'll be organizing a session where you will see about the second phase, right? That is your requirement elicitation and analysis.